Right, so this is a second part to a previous video. I'll put the link to the other one. So in the previous video, we made our comic book character's face. So we made a Laura that'll not do photographic images. We'll always do a comic stripped figure, so that we don't. So we don't get half photo, half drawing when we put our character into their surroundings. So the second part is we've got a consistent face going, as you see here. It's all the same person. She's vaguely based on Diana Rigg, but the likeness is left far behind at this stage, which is what we want really. So there's a similarity, not a likeness, because don't really want people saying, "Oh, that's Emma Peel," when they look at your illustration. So but she's got some of Diana Rigg's charm and sophistication, which is severely lacking in Flux in the basic model. So what I've done here, what we want to do is to end up with one of these to go to the next stage. And rather conveniently, Flux will do this with prompting. So I've got her in a black outfit there. So the process is, the first part, you hope to get lucky. So what we'll do, we'll change her outfit. So we'll go through the whole process again. So what we've got is this prompt, which I'll leave up for a second, because it's quite important that it's like this. So it's a character sheet with different angles, comic strip drawing. This will be whatever style you're looking for. I'm looking for a comic strip drawing, and I've got a comic strip Laura running. So I've got a tough girl because I want her. She's going to be an adventuress. So she's pretty hard bitten, and it stops her being too young as well. You can put tough woman. That might even be better. We'll leave that though. So Emma Peel actually often wears bright colours, so we'll make it a yellow leather jacket, shall we? So we'll leave all the rest the same. It's just to make the point that you can dress her up however you want. The plain background is important. I don't bother putting white. You can put white. This prompt wants to be quite short and succinct, so you don't want too much going on there. So the Loras, we've got the face Lora we made in the previous episode, which does the character's face, and we've got a basic comic Lora. I can put the links to these. They're on my Huggingface page, though they're not necessarily named this way. So what we'll do, we'll stop that going on. We'll run that, and we'll get a... we don't know quite what we'll get. Sometimes it doesn't do all four figures, but we'll see. Just because I'm now recording a video, it'll do something horrible. There we go. So that's pretty good. So what I do is look at this and think, I think we need a short jacket. So that's quite nice. Oh, there's a coat, not a jacket, isn't it? But these are good. So what I'll do, we'll put short leather jacket. And we'll change the seed. You see, you could prompt for a completely drawn outline one if you wanted. One thing that does tend to happen is these two are rather nice. I like these two. I don't know where he came from. Now you've got a choice here. Sometimes you do get accessories like that which you have to get rid of really. Sometimes I Photoshop the ones I like out. So I might do 10 or 12 of these, and I'll make a sheet of 4 I like. We'll see if we get lucky and we get 4. So that's a pretty good 4-figure one, but we haven't got the yellow jacket all the way across. And you see, this is a more drawn style on that one as well. So these are going to vary, and you'll have to do a set of them. And I don't know, however many it takes. So it doesn't. I haven't done sort of less than round 20, and you've usually got a good sheet. So that's quite nice. So you can sort of decide on which outfits you like of her. So we've got that and that. That's quite nice. And I don't usually do them individually like this. We'll do a batch to show you the variations. One problem you do get a lot is the head and the feet off the top and the bottom, which is really annoying. but it just happens a lot. They're just about usable, those ones. So we'll do a batch 6. There we go. So we've got a batch 6, and as you see, we've got this one here is turning up quite a lot. So here she is again. I like the short jacket. I think that's nice. But the point is, what we need to do is to make in Photoshop a sheet of consistent ones. But as you can see, this is only like one batch and the other ones as well. It doesn't take you long to get 4 that have pretty much identical costumes. And then you can put that together in Photoshop to make a sheet to guide the rest. Now, I'll flip back to the all black one because I'd already done that process. And I think you need to know enough about Photoshop. I'm assuming you know enough about Photoshop to assemble 3 figures in different angles from groups of these. It's very easy nowadays. Photoshop cuts them out automatically, and you can swap tops and bottoms and heads and stuff really easily. But what you want to end up with, if we zoom up here to Redux. So here's one I did earlier, and I'm actually doing this, and I want her with a jacket and with her off. So I'm going to make 2 Loras, one with her just her roll neck, and one with. But as you see, we've got. In these 3, we've got very consistent costumes, and everything is very consistent. The skinny trousers, the belt, even the belt buckle is staying consistent. So it's worth taking the time to make a good set like this. I say she's like that just because I fancy making 2 Loras, one with her slightly differently dressed. You could make a Lora with a mixture, but you'd randomly get jacket and not jacket. So when you've made that image, you drop it into Redux here. I'm assuming you know how to use Redux. This is not a how to use Redux video, so we won't go into that. I put the style strength at about 24. Everything else stays the same. This squashes the image down to 124, which changes the shape of it. It doesn't seem to care about that even slightly. So then, from that, we best change this jacket back to black, and I think we'll just change that back to black. We don't need short anymore because it's in the Redux. Okay, and then we just do a single gen. We'll take that. I don't think sorry, senior moment there. Forgot to change the conditioning over. So we're doing Redux conditioning. You see that here? That's the ordinary conditioning. That's the Redux conditioning. In Redux, you can also change the prompt strength, which is often very useful. So if the prompt starts going off-piste, then you can bump up the strength of the prompt and get the 2 balanced. Well, like with nothing with Flux, it's never consistent. Okay, we'll run that, see what we get. Okay, so that's all very nice. We got 2 good ones there, and 2 for my just roll neck collection. I quite like that. That's quite nice. So you can refine this because in the next stage you'll see why. So we'll just refine that. This is just a 1.5 times bigger. So we're going up twice and then down to 0.75. So we're twice the size, 1.5 times the size. There we go. So she's nicely refined. Nice comic strip drawn face. Some of the boobs are a bit big. It's very hard to get slightly less busty ladies, I'm afraid. I could have prompted thin and skinny or all of them at the same time. They'll still be big girls. So this image, I would save off this image into a file. So here's a couple there already, and I would probably only do 20 generations this way. It would probably give me enough figures for the next stage. And out of this image, I also get, because I want some of her from the waist up, so we'll go down to 0 there, get the one on the end. So with this, you can move the... you can do this in Photoshop afterwards if you want, but I just do this because it gives a slightly better resolution. Again, I'm assuming you know how to crop and all the rest of this. I will put a version of this workflow in there, which will have some notes on it for you. But it's a fairly standard workflow I use. So what I want now is a slightly better resolution of her. So she's being bumped up to 1024 for this generation, running on the same Loras, running on the same prompt. There we go. And the denoise is 0.55, quite reasonable. So there we go. We have a close up of her, which I shall demonstrate what we're going to use it for later. So I'm assuming you've run these through and you've got 20 different angles, good angles, back and everything. You might have to prompt for the back view, but you only need one really in the set. So I'm assuming you've got, say, 32 good standing figures. You've got 20 or so waist ups, and that's all you need. And that's the next stage. And the next stage happens in Photoshop. So we'll pause the video here and we'll go over to Photoshop and I'll show you how you drop them in. And then it's just a rinse and repeat. But I'll go to Photoshop now and we'll demonstrate that because it's not immediately obvious what we're going to do. Okay, so here we are with our rendered ladies in all the different angles. I'll zip through a few of them. So we've got all different angles. There's a nice sideways one there. And we've got the fuller figure ones, the three-quarter figure ones. And the process is extremely simple. You can use this select here, click on her, copy her, go to the background, and there she is. Job done. And you can scale her and move her around and position her wherever. There's a little chap there. We'll get her leg over the little chap. And then just flatten that off and save it. You can, I've done several backgrounds, so we can select another one, have her in there. Again, you can put her wherever you want. It's a good idea to get the lighting slightly right. I might also adjust the colour of her a little bit to match. So that's quite cyan, so I might make her a little tiny bit more cyan to fit. Does it make a difference? I'm not sure. Probably not. Probably not. And we've got other backgrounds, and you can flip her and so off. And I do them in landscape format here because I'm going to crop them down to the final training image. I'll just show you that quickly. So if I'm doing a square crop, so I can decide where I'm going to crop because this image is a little bit big. So that gives me the option of framing her nicely, and it does make quite a difference if you frame your training images well. It does make a difference. I've tested this quite a lot. If your training image is a nice image all by itself, and you've got a whole set of them, that'll make a better Lora. It won't transform it completely, but it'll just make it that little bit better. And I'm not going to do any more. It's rinse and repeat. I've got about 10 backgrounds, and I'll end up with about 32 images with her at different sizes. You want some with quite a close-up of the face. Not very many, but just a few. Get out of that. Just a few, if I go back to this one, where the face is really big, but probably only 2 or 3. And use some. In the previous section, you can render off a few close faces, and it does need a little bit of a mixture of sizes. So some of them, for example, let's go out of that and put her back there. Some of them, for example, you want full figure, and make sure she's got consistent shoes on. The shoes are a bit variable. We don't want that little bloke in there, so this is a bad example, but never mind, it'll do. Ignore the bloke, he's a midget. So you can have some in there if we crop that. And again, you want to position her so she looks nice. We'll crop that. And this is only going to be 512 for training, you see. So I don't like our little man there. We'll get rid of him. Any edits like this can be quite crude. It won't pick up on a little bit of editing like that. So there she is. One thing I might do is slap a quick shadow in, but very crudely, just so she sits in the picture and not as nicely. And that's it. So what you'll end up with is 32 images with her at different sizes, slightly different hues. I've got nighttime ones, I've got indoors ones, I've got outdoors ones, and what we'll end up with is a database, is a set of images, training images that have her in lots of different contexts. And the way it works is that she is the only consistent item. So it'll do the style, because that's consistent, but it won't do the backgrounds very much because they change in every picture. But she is a constant, so that she will be one of the things that's learnt the most. That's the way I think it works anyway. I'm pretty sure that's the way it works. Okay, so next time I'll maybe quickly show you the Flux training in the trainer I use, but the settings are transferable to any trainer, I think. Okay, that's this section. Next section the Lora will be being trained or trained, one of the two. Okay, so here we are in Flux Gym. You give your Lora a name. It can be anything you want. I'll just call it Costume X. I don't use a trigger. We're using Flux Dev. I've got 20 gig VRAM, and I've dropped the images in. Here's our images. Don't know how many they are now. 40 of them. And I don't caption. I put a nonsense word in here. And I paste that into every one, which I won't do anymore. I won't bother doing every one. And you want about 4,000 steps. So 10, that's 4,000 steps. So that's 10 repeats and 10 epochs. And the other settings are... I put a different C number in. Doesn't make any difference really, though. I do 5e4, and we network dimension, which is rank. I do 12 for this sort of thing, and that's it. And then you set it off to go, and that's all there is to do in Flux Gym. Those settings should go into any trainer fine, though. There's nothing exceptional about the settings whatsoever. And on my machine, that'll take about an hour and a quarter. You leave... for this sort of thing, I leave it at 512. It's not a super detailed thing. So 512 is absolutely fine. Okay, so next we'll look at the... what the Lora looks like. Okay, so here we are. Our Lora is cooked and back, and here's the first generation, which is pretty good, pretty like her. I'll just quickly show you all of the training images, how they turned out. So you see variety of poses, variety of positions, variety of backgrounds, etc. Of course, once you have... we'll duck out of that now. So, and also, once you have got the Lora working, as we have here, you can, of course, produce more training images to make it better still. So, if you do quite a few images... with the Lora set up like this, we have both the face Lora, which I made in episode 1, which is here, and the body Lora, which is there. Notice that they're in at only 3.5, 0.35 each. So not a great deal. And there's a comic strip Lora in there as well. So they're not in very strong, but they're still working absolutely fine. So that leaves plenty of room for other Loras and less description. So we'll do another one. And here she is again. What you'll notice is these small details will change. So the belt buckle, if you were using this in a tiny car there, what's that doing there? Another one there. Oh dear. Anyway, aside from the tiny cars, details like the belt buckle will change. If it's terribly important, it stays the same. You just got to Photoshop a consistent belt buckle in. And this, for a really complex costume, say a superhero's costume that's very detailed, you would run into problems in consistency, and you have to do a fair bit of handwork, I would imagine. but still considerably less than if you if you did it all from scratch, you know. So we'll up the strength a bit. So that was very low. So it'll be more consistent. We go to 0.55. It'll probably tend to be more consistent at a higher strength, but yeah, I think it's perfectly usable at 0.4ish. Yeah, there we go. So it's a lot more consistent as soon as you're up to 0.5. We have the square belt buckle, and all of the details are just exactly right there. More little cars. That was not so bad, that one. We'll change the proportion, make it just do a few square ones. I will possibly make another Lora from this and just substitute. From this, I can probably produce better training images than the ones I trained this model with. So the Lora will become better in another generation if I wanted. Here she is again, and you see the belt buckle has stayed has stayed on message. And there's no little cars. Everything's getting better. So anyway, I think that just about wraps this up. I did get enough images of her just with her roll neck top. So I could easily produce another Lora where she doesn't have her jacket on, and of course you could put her in you could do another one with a different costume. So if you were using her in a comic strip, maybe, then you could have 3 or 4 Loras with different outfits, and they should remain consistent. So she doesn't always have to have her jacket on, for example, which I might well do actually, because that would be quite useful. And I think I shall put a link to the comic strip models, and I'll put a version of this workflow. This workflow is quite a big workflow for making comic strips. It goes right down here. It'll actually assemble the frames, but I won't put the whole of that up. That I might cover that in a later video. So probably the workflow will just have this section here and Redux as well. So because you should be able to follow that file, and it will have little messages on it to help you along the way. Okay, I hope that was useful and interesting. That's the lot.